Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the whole flock of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Got to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh, not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah, not Abba, not Yahuwah, not Hashem, not Yahweh, Haveh, Vaveh. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahushua. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christos, not Yeshua, not Yehoshua, not Yahusha, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos. It's Yahushua. So got to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Rekah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles, elder, bishop, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all Israel, whether accepted or not. In a sincere salutation to all that can believe in this truth and pushing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, shedding light to the whole elect. Shalom to the Akwath who are listening learning, you for your sister who are listening learning. I'm Isaiah from GMS Orlando Camp, Prophet of Doom, coming at you on a lesson, true facts, faith, and edification, of the data edification. Lord, wisdom be edified. This is copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips to balance in favor of fair use. This is for educational purposes only. This is not for monetary gain. I do not own the copyright to these videos. This is for educational purposes only. Lord willing, this be edifying.
Tensions in the Middle East are rapidly escalating after the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iran, triggering one of the most dangerous confrontations in recent years. Now, Iran is issuing a stark warning. In a televised address from Tehran, senior IRGC advisor Ibrahim Jabari signaled that this conflict may be far from over and could intensify significantly. Jabari warned that Iran has so far used only its lower-tier capabilities and possesses advanced and powerful missiles that have not yet been revealed.
Trump should know that we are equipped with the most advanced capabilities today to fight with you for years. At the start of the war, we'll use whatever we have left in storage, but as it goes on, we'll launch our most powerful missiles. The things we haven't revealed yet, the ones we Iranians say we've kept in reserve, we'll unveil those in these days as well.
Iran's response indicate the use of ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. Tehran has also deployed large numbers of attack drones, as well as short-range rockets targeting nearby U.S. However, significant capabilities...
I'm sorry, Salakia. I gotta play this other one first. Then I'll play that. Let's get this first.
Power, killing its leader, and that regional power...
So I just want to play the 3 minutes of this here, and then I'm going to go to the other videos.
Most wars start slowly. They start with warnings nobody listens to, with headlines people scroll past, with experts saying it won't go that far, and then one morning the world wakes up and everything has changed. That morning is today, February 28th, 2026. And right now, there are 5 undeniable signs and 5 concrete, factual, documented developments that suggest the world is not just edging toward World War III. It may have already begun the first chapter of it. These are not conspiracy theories. These are not social media panics. These are facts drawn from governments, militaries, intelligence agencies, and the world's most respected news organizations. So sit down, pay attention, and understand what is actually happening. Because the version you are getting on your phone's notification feed is not telling you the full story. Sign number 1, a superpower just killed another country's head of state, and that country has already fired back across an entire region. On the morning of Saturday, February 28th, 2026, the United States of America and Israel launched a coordinated military operation against the sovereign nation of Iran. The operation, designated Operation Epic Fury by the Pentagon and Operation Lion's Roar by Israel, struck targets across Tehran, Isfahan, Qom, Karaj, and Kermanshah, sending shockwaves through the Middle East and sparking immediate global talk of World War III. About 200 Israeli fighter jets took part in the strikes in the morning, hitting approximately 500 targets. The U.S. military participated using aircraft and cruise missiles. And then came the event that changed everything. The United States and Israel killed the supreme leader of Iran. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has ruled Iran since 1989, was struck in an Israeli airstrike on his compound in Tehran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there were growing signs Khamenei had been killed, and President Trump confirmed his death in public remarks. Think about what that means historically. The United States just killed the head of state of a nation of 93 million people. Iran has the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East. It has proxy forces across 7 countries. It has been building toward nuclear capability for 2 decades. And now its supreme leader is dead, killed by an American-backed military operation. Iran's response was immediate and enormous. Iran launched retaliatory strikes, firing missiles and drones at Israel and U.S. bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Iran also struck a second blow at U.S. military bases using Fatah hypersonic missiles, and the IRGC announced attacks on 14 American bases across various countries. This is not a skirmish. This is not a limited airstrike followed by diplomatic de-escalation. This is a superpower attacking a regional power, killing its leader, and that regional power firing hypersonic missiles back at American military installations across a dozen nations simultaneously. This is the definition of an active war between the United States and a major regional power. That alone should terrify anyone who knows their history, because history tells us that wars of this scale almost...
Now, let's go over here. And let's play, let's get this out. Let's play this one first.
There are obvious parallels with the events of 2003 when the US representatives waved a test tube around in this room to justify their invasion of Iraq by saying that there were weapons of mass destruction present there that no one actually found. In 2023, US Vice President J.D. Vance said that the Iraq campaign was unforced. As a result, innocent Iraqis and Americans died, and that Washington had to learn that lesson. However, as it turns out, that lesson has not yet been learned. In the statements of the European colleagues, and we'll hear that again today, instead of condemning aggression and the deaths of Iranian civilians, we once again will hear the statement of the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, saying the Iranian regime must understand that it has no other option but to engage in good faith negotiations to end its nuclear and ballistic programs, as well as its regional destabilization activities, end quote. Similar assessments were voiced by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer. These absurd statements were then backed up by a joint statement of the leaders of the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, condemning only Iran's strikes on the countries in the region. Colleagues, just think for a moment. This sort of reaction is coming at a time when Iran has been subject to armed attack, to military attack at the peak of an active negotiating process. The hypocrisy of our European colleagues knows no borders. And these aren't even double standards. It's a parallel reality. The other side of the looking glass. In the English language, there's an ideal term to describe the situation: victim blaming. One gets the impression that London, Paris, and Berlin are living within illusions that they have created for themselves and are broadcasting to the world. However, attempts to mislead the international community are doomed to fail. Any common sense person will fully well understand who is responsible, who bears responsibility for this latest uncontrolled escalation. First of all, I wish to express our firm rejection of the fact that the presidency today, that the meeting today is taking place under the agenda item, the situation in the Middle East. We wish to recall that Russia and China requested that it be held under the agenda item, threats to international peace and security. That request was also contained in the relevant letter of the Iranian colleagues. The aggression that Iran has been subjected to today threatens to lead to escalation in an already escalated region, and it could go far beyond its borders. Particularly given the fact that one of the two initiators of this military venture is far from being a state in the region. Attempts by the British presidency to artificially downplay the degree of danger of the current situation is simply unacceptable. The presidency also grossly scorned Russia and China's request to invite as a briefer to today's meeting the professor at Columbia University, Jeffrey Sachs. The British colleagues do everything they can to assert the importance of inviting representatives of civil society to Security Council meetings. That clearly does not apply to cases when world-recognized academics are going to present truth that is unacceptable to the Western governments. In recent hours, we have witnessed a further extremely dangerous ratcheting up of escalation in the Middle East. Early in the morning of the 28th of February, the United States and Israel began launching massive military strikes on the territory of Iran. It was declared that one of the aims of the attacks one of the targets were the senior political leadership of the country and also civilian nuclear facilities. In real time, we are getting reports from the Iranian authorities about casualties, including among the civilian population. More than 200 people have died in 24 provinces of the country. We were particularly aggrieved to learn of the strike on a girls' school in Minab, where it is reported that 85 children were killed. We sincerely express our sincere condolences to the family and loved ones of the victims, and we wish a swift recovery to the injured. Our country will do everything necessary to ensure the security and safety of Russian citizens that are on the territory of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Mr. President, Washington and West Jerusalem's actions are nothing other than yet another unprovoked act of armed aggression against a sovereign and independent UN member state in violation of the Charter of the organization and of the fundamental principles of international law. They are openly aimed at further interfering in the internal affairs of Iran and at destroying a state that has found disfavor with the West. The US and Israel's irresponsible step, reckless step, as we warned previously, has already led to a sharp escalation of the situation across the region. Bahrain, Jordan, Qatar, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Syria and Saudi Arabia have all been affected. And those countries that have repeatedly said to their American partners that they don't need this escalation in the Middle East. Moreover, the US and Israel military operation has been a betrayal of diplomacy. These countries once again are bringing to bear military force against Iran at the very height of negotiations, just as they did in June 2025. Just the day before yesterday, on the 26th of February in Geneva, there was the latest round of US-Iranian contacts with the facilitation of Oman. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, noted that an understanding and agreement had been reached to continue the dialogue. For our part, we underscore that the Russian side has repeatedly received signals that the Israelis have no interest in a military confrontation with Iran. And then, despite Tehran's willingness to engage in the diplomatic process, it once again is stabbed in the back. Moreover, the fact that Washington for such a long time and methodically was building up its military presence in the region only confirms the fact that aggression against Iran was planned in advance. The actions of the United States and Israel risk triggering a humanitarian and economic catastrophe. Of particular concern, once again, are the threats to nuclear safety and security and radiological safety and security. The statements today from the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to the effect that this operation was aimed at preventing Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon are not justified. They are unfounded. Tehran has consistently stated that it does not have any such plans and that is fulfilling its obligations under the...
So I just want to play some of this. So you heard what the chick said. These are not conspiracies, right? Let's run this back. This right here.
And 5 concrete, factual, document.
Let's run this back. Just the point she said, these are not conspiracies. These are facts.
Most wars start slowly. They start with warnings nobody listens to, with headlines people scroll past, with experts saying it won't go that far. And then one morning, the world wakes up and everything has changed. That morning is today, February 28th, 2026. And right now, there are 5 undeniable signs and 5 concrete, factual, documented developments that suggest the world is not just edging toward World War III. It may have already begun the first chapter of it. These are not conspiracy theories. These are not social media panics. These are facts drawn from governments, militaries, intelligence agencies, and the world's most respected news organizations. So sit down, pay attention, and understand what is actually happening. Because the version you are getting on your phone's notification feed is not telling you the full story. Sign number 1. A superpower just killed another country's head of state, and that country has already fired back across an entire region. On the morning of Saturday, February 28th, 2026, the United States of America and Israel launched a coordinated military operation against the sovereign nation of Iran. The operation, designated Operation Epic Fury by the Pentagon and Operation Lion's Roar by Israel, struck targets across Tehran, Isfahan, Qom, Karaj, and Kermanshah, sending shockwaves through the Middle East and sparking immediate global talk of World War III. About 200 Israeli fighter jets took part in the strikes in the morning, hitting approximately 500 targets. The U.S. military participated using aircraft and cruise missiles. And then came the event that changed everything. The United States and Israel killed the supreme leader of Iran. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has ruled Iran since 1989, was struck in an Israeli airstrike on his compound in Tehran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there were growing signs Khamenei had been killed, and President Trump confirmed his death in public remarks. Think about what that means historically. The United States just killed the head of state of a nation of 93 million people. Iran has the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East. It has proxy forces across 7 countries. It has been building toward nuclear capability for 2 decades. And now its supreme leader is dead, killed by an American-backed military operation. Iran's response was immediate and enormous. Iran launched retaliatory strikes, firing missiles and drones at Israel and U.S. bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Iran also struck a second blow at U.S. military bases using Fatah hypersonic missiles, and the IRGC announced attacks on 14 American bases across various countries. This is not a skirmish. This is not a limited airstrike.
Hey, just like the scriptures say, you shall know them by their fruit. Well, you shall know the other side by their wickedness. Now let's play this one. Go back to this.
Tensions in the Middle East are rapidly escalating after the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iran, triggering one of the most dangerous confrontations in recent years. Now, Iran is issuing a stark warning. In a televised address from Tehran, senior IRGC advisor Ibrahim Jabari signaled that this conflict may be far from over and could intensify significantly. Jabari warned that Iran has so far used only its lower-tier capabilities and possesses advanced and powerful missiles that have not yet been revealed.
Trump should know that we are equipped with the most advanced capabilities today to fight with you for years. At the start of the war, we'll use whatever we have left in storage, but as it goes on, we'll launch our most powerful missiles. The things we haven't revealed yet, the ones we Iranians say we've kept in reserve, we'll unveil those in these days as well.
Iran's response indicate the use of ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. Tehran has also deployed large numbers of attack drones, as well as short-range rockets targeting nearby U.S. However, significant capabilities remain in reserve, including advanced precision-guided missiles, longer-range strike systems, more sophisticated loitering munitions, and potentially anti-ship missiles. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claims it struck 14 U.S.-linked bases and killed hundreds of American troops, presenting it as a major retaliatory success.
The noble and courageous people of Islamic Iran, the criminal America, and the savage Zionist regime, in their attack on Islamic Iran this morning, once again showed that they understand nothing but the language of force and have proven their barbaric nature to the world, shedding the blood of our innocent people and defenseless students. In a powerful response to this savage aggression, the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, acting swiftly and with great precision, not only targeted vital security and military centers of the Zionist regime in the occupied territories, but also struck 14 major American military bases in the region with lightning attacks, killing hundreds of invading American and regime forces. It should be noted that the powerful and resolute operations of the armed forces will continue even more forcefully and on a larger scale than before, and the results will be subsequently communicated to our dear people.
Iranian officials say the attacks have pushed the region closer to full-scale war and accuse both the United States and Israel of targeting not just military infrastructure but civilians as well.
Agha sahab, we've seen a major attack today by US and Israel on Iran. So how do you respond to that attack? And we have also seen some retaliatory attacks.
Yes.
So how do you see the things moving?
Actually, as you know, we were on the negotiation and discussion to reach to the diplomatic conclusion. And yesterday, everyone announced that we had a lot of progress comparing to last negotiation. We were thinking that very soon we reach to very good statement by Iran and United States of America, and everyone was happy. And even the president of United States says, I would like to have agreement with Iranian delegation. But unfortunately, today, within this last month of Ramadan, we got attack from Israel, from United States of America against Iran. First of all, they started to attack civilian people. They announced that they attacked some government state and also build the governmental building, but it's not true. They attacked civilian people, and within 12 days war, more than 1,200 innocent people were killed, and this time also is the same. And if the United States of America wants to continue like that, which is against the whole humanity, against the whole dignity, and it's against the whole international law. So there will be no any peace on the world, because every time if doesn't like any country, he wants to attack on that country. Actually, we condemn this aggression against Iran, this attack against Iran, and we hope that all gentlemen and also the people who think that we are free, they have to raise their voice against such attack, and we hope that international law and United Nations will come out and stop this war against Iran.
So did they also target the Supreme Leader? And what was the message of Supreme Leader on this?
Actually, Supreme Leaders is in the good health and never has a fear of America or any other people, although he's an old man, but doesn't have any fear from them. And he will continue by his dignity, by his wisdom, and I hope that we will win in this war.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before.
So the one thing we got to remember is this. Revelation 16 in verse 13 it reads, "And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet." These 3, London is the monetary, Washington is the military, Vatican is a religion, Roman Catholic dogma. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. Verse 16, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon, which is Armageddon. So, the point of this verse, it's the elites that's doing this. Don't forget, never forget, this distraction, the elites can still control all of this. Their goal from the Heavenly Father Yahweh through Yahweh Shai is this. Revelation 20:7. When 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, which is the so-called white man, and shall go out to the sea of the nations, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them to the battle, the number of whom is at the sand of the sea. So their job is to stir up the guard, which is Gog, which is Russia. I only got this last clip on to play. I'm gonna play this here.
Amid escalating strikes on Iranian territory, a high-level diplomatic channel has opened between Moscow and Tehran. At the initiative of the Iranian side, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov held a telephone conversation with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on February 28th. Tehran briefed Moscow on steps taken by the Iranian leadership to repel what it described as US and Israeli aggression, accusing Washington and Tel Aviv of once again disrupting negotiations on a peaceful settlement of the Iranian nuclear issue. During the call, the Iranian side announced plans for the urgent convening of the United Nations Security Council. Lavrov condemned what he called an unprovoked armed attack by the United States and Israel, saying it violated the principles and norms of international law and ignored grave consequences for regional and global stability. Russia has issued a blistering condemnation after the United States, and Israel launched airstrikes on Iranian territory early Friday morning. In a strongly worded statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation described the operation as a premeditated and unprovoked act of armed aggression against a sovereign UN member state. Moscow says the scale and nature of the military political preparations leave no doubt that the attack was planned in advance and carried out in violation of international law.
The scale and nature of the military, political, and propaganda preparations preceding this reckless step, including the deployment of a large military group of the USA in the region, leave no doubt that we are talking about a premeditated and unprovoked act of armed aggression against a sovereign and independent member state of the UN, in violation of the fundamental principles and norms of international law.
The Kremlin has framed the strikes as reckless escalation, warning that the region is being pushed toward what it calls a humanitarian, economic, and possibly radiological catastrophe. Russia argues that bombing nuclear facilities operating under safeguards of the International Atomic Energy Agency is unacceptable and risks undermining the global non-proliferation regime anchored in the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. According to Moscow, the American-Israeli tandem is ignoring the consequences for regional stability.
Washington and Tel Aviv have once again embarked on a dangerous adventure. which is rapidly bringing the region closer to a humanitarian, economic, and possibly radiological catastrophe. The aggressors' intentions are clear, and they are openly declaring them to destroy the constitutional order and eliminate the leadership of an undesirable state that refused to submit to military dictatorship and hegemony.
In one of its strongest accusations, Russia says the responsibility for any chain reaction of violence will lie entirely with the United States and Israel. The statement warns of unpredictable consequences and a spiral of escalation that could engulf the wider Middle East. Moscow argues that such actions could ultimately encourage countries across the region to pursue stronger deterrent capabilities, calling on the international community, including the United Nations, to deliver an objective and uncompromising assessment. Russia has demanded an immediate return to political and diplomatic negotiations. The Kremlin says it remains ready to assist in finding peaceful solutions based on international law, mutual respect, and balance of interests. But with military strikes underway and tensions surging, the warning from Moscow is clear. The Middle East may now be standing at the edge of a far more dangerous escalation. Russia has reacted sharply to the reported US-Israel strikes on Iran. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev accused Washington of disguising military intent behind diplomatic engagement. In a blistering message, he questioned the credibility of American negotiations with Tehran.
The peacemaker has once again shown his true colors. All the negotiations with Iran are a cover-up operation. No one ever doubted that. No one really wanted to negotiate anything significant anyway.
Medvedev's remarks signal Moscow's deep distrust of Washington's role in West Asia. By calling diplomacy a facade, he suggests the talks were merely strategic camouflage before strikes. The statement reinforces Russia's narrative that the United States uses negotiations as leverage, not resolution. He then reframed the crisis as a civilizational contest, invoking history to underline endurance and patience.
The question is, who has more patience to wait for the inglorious end of their enemy? The USA has only existed for 249 years. The Persian Empire was founded more than 2,500 years ago. Let's see in about 100 years.
The message is unmistakable. Moscow is aligning rhetorically with Tehran and portraying this confrontation as a long-term geopolitical struggle rather than a short-term military escalation. As tensions deepen in West Asia, Russia is signaling that it sees the battle not just in bombs and missiles, but in endurance and history.
So real quick, before I go, I want to show this. Putin's warning. Russia calls emergency IAEA session. So Russia deploys S-400s inside Iran. Putin's S-400s deal with Iran, shocks West. So their war is based on lies. Of course it is. Because Esau Edom, the separate claimed so-called white man, is a forge of lies. So before I go, I did a lesson of the week, right? So I went into let me see if it's still here. I went into 2nd Ezra 15, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Let me go here. Dragons of Arabia. Let's look at this. Hold on, let's go back. I want to see what AI overview. No, it was Carmenians. That's what it was. Right? Let's look this up. So look at this. This is what AI overview say about when I pulled up Carmenians in my last lesson. AI overview. The Carmenians, as a fierce, warlike people mentioned in the biblical prophecy, of 2nd Ezra 15 and 30, described as raging like wild boars to devastate Assyria, which is the Edomites. Historically, they inhabited Carmenia, a region in ancient Persia located on the north shore of the Persian Gulf, corresponding to modern-day Kerman in Iran. Now look at this. It say key details about the Carmenians include biblical context. In 2nd Ezra, they are depicted as a powerful destructive force in a prophecy regarding the last days, acting as a horrible vision. They were a real ancient people, frequently mentioned by historians like Herodotus and Strabo. Characteristics: they were described as closely resembling the Medes and Persians in custom, and by some accounts were considered a warlike people who practiced cannibalism. But the point is, it says here, biblical context in 2nd Ezra, they are depicted as a powerful, destructive force in a prophecy regarding the last days, acting as a horrible vision. This is Isaiah. Because we know the least of the flock is drawing out America, Babylon the Great. This is Isaiah 21 and 1. The burden of the desert of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south pass through, so it cometh from the desert, from a terrible land, a grievous vision is declared unto me. The treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, which is America, Babylon the Great. And the spoiler spoileth, which is the Edomites, the so-called white man. Go up, O Elam, which is Persia, and besiege, O Media. And the modern day Media is Russia. All the sign thereof have I made to cease. Therefore are my loins filled with pain. Pains have taken hold upon me, as the pains of a woman that travaileth. I was bowed down at the hearing of it. I was dismayed at the seeing of it. At what? When Elam and Media come in, which is Russia and Iran. My heart panted. Fearfulness of fright me. The night of my pleasure have he turned into the fear unto me. Prepare the table, which is his truth. Watch in the watchtower. Eat, drink, arise, ye princes, and anoint the shield. The shield is, when you read Ephesians 6, taking the whole armor of the Lord. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, go, set a watchman, let him declare what he seeth. What do we seeth? America about to be destroyed. And he saw a chariot with a couple of horsemen, which is Russia and Iran, the Medes and the Persians. The modern day Medes is the Russians. A chariot of asses and a chariot of camels. And he hearkened diligently with much heed. And he cried, a lion, my lord. I stand continually upon the watchtower in the daytime, and I am setting the war whole nights. Hey, that's why you see brothers doing videos around the clock. And behold, here cometh a chariot of men with a couple of horsemen. And he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods have he broken into the ground. And every time I read this, I think about, it's all her gods, right? When you go to Isaiah 19, same thing here. The burden of Egypt, Isaiah 19 and 1. Behold, Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud, and cometh to Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it, which goes back to Exodus. Same thing happened in Exodus 12. Exodus 12 and 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt will I execute judgment. I am Yahweh. So the Lord is finna do the same thing again. But we see they drawing out the Babylonians, man. The Americans. The modern day Americans, man. Hey, but we know this is controlled by Yahweh, by Shema Shah. But the Lord is using these elites to generate World War III. What? Their war is based on lies. Hey, so I just saw these, so I just want to make some points. Lord was edifying. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Bahashem Rikak Wadash, the Bono City Apostles, Elder Bishop, and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. And a sincere salutation to all that can believe in this truth and pushing this truth. But the four ends of the earth, the entire world, shall not to the overlect. Shalom to the Akwath who are listening learning. If you sisters who are listening learning, do off tuning in. Till next time, I say Shalom, Wa, Abba, Abba.